Are you one step short of being schlocked to death? Well, then you are in the right place. What is up, everybody? I am Darby Ellis Lewis Wilson. This is Chris Anonymous, and we are here to talk about the 1994 creature feature straight to video sequel, Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings. What is up, Chris? How's your Halloween season going?
Pretty good, pretty good. Never enough time to watch all the Halloween and horror movies that I want to in October. But it's
I
I still
know.
got nine-ish days, so I'll power through. I
It's
usually
plenty of
binge like two or three the week up every night.
I've always wanted to do one new scary movie, so something I haven't seen. One new scary movie every day for the month of October, and
Man, that'd be fun.
I've never been able to complete it. So someday maybe when I'm retired and I don't have a job.
I mean, maybe we could do an episode a day at some October.
Man, that would be awesome. And speaking of episodes and doing things that take up time, uh, we are. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to transition this, but we just yesterday reached 90 subscribers. I know. I know how I'm going to connect this. The more subscribers we get, the more of this we can do. We can do a movie every single day of the month. We could do a movie every single hour of the day. The more subscribers that we get, so that's probably impossible. But Chris, just the other day, you were saying to me that you would really love if we reach 100 by the new year, right?
Yeah, it would be awesome to have 100 subscribers plus by the end of the year.
Yeah,
So I
very
think it's
very
doable.
attainable goals. So if you're watching this, hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends, tell your kids, tell your wife. They subscribing out here. So help us reach that goal. It is going to be fantabulous once we can stream every minute of every single day till the end of time. So Pumpkinhead 2. I think I think we might have very similar feelings on this movie. Uh, so let's get into it. I think our schlock section of this show is going to be very big. The way we do this show is we talk about the good, we talk about the bad, and we talk about the schlock. What we liked, what we didn't like, and just things that stuck out to us as weird or bizarre, or if there's any interesting ideas in the show. It's really kind of our catch all. Be forewarned, we will spoil this movie. We'll spoil the movie before it. We'll spoil any movie we've ever seen and maybe something that you don't want to have spoiled. So stick around and get things spoiled. Don't go away. But first, before we start all of this, we like to talk about the web of schlock. If we've seen these people before, if we're going to see them, Chris, tell us all about it.
Well, there's a lot of people in this. We'll start with
Star-studded, if you will.
star-studded. Yeah, we'll start with just the director before we get to all the actors. Jeff Burr. So this dude is the one of the kings of horror movie sequels. So he did Stepfather 2, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3,
Mhm.
and of course this movie. And then Puppet Master 4, Puppet Master 5, and Puppet Master Blitzkrieg Massacre. And I'm not sure where that one falls in the timeline. There's so many Puppet Masters.
I think
But
it's by date of release. I think that's the only way you can really follow the movies.
yeah, but and there are so many more that he's directed. Werewolf Reborn. I mean, just tons of schlock movies, and I'd like to see them all. Yeah, why not? And then we're moving to all the main actors. J. Trevor Edmund. He was in Return of Living Dead 3 and Lord of Illusions.
Mhm.
Andrew Robinson, the sheriff in this, he was in Dirty Harry. He was in Hellraiser.
Mhm.
He was in Star Trek Deep Space Nine for a long time. And we have Amy Dolans. She had a run on General Hospital. We had Hill Harper, who didn't have a lot before this, but later went on to have a major role in CSI New York.
That's right.
We had Alexander Polensky, who was in Teen Titans, and he had a nice run on Charles in Charge before this. So
I think he wound up doing a lot of voice acting.
Yeah, a lot of voice acting. So there's lots of people from TV and or horror movies, and then we got two more to mention. Soleil Moon Frye, Punky Brewster. Punky Brewster from the '80s sitcom is one of the main leads in this.
Which I've never seen Punky Brewster. Man. I think that was a little before my time. Was she actually punky? Was she a punk?
I mean, I think so. My childhood memory is it was very punky, but I mean,
it's in the name,
right? I haven't seen it for like 30-ish years. Well, yeah, 30-ish years. So I can't quite remember, but I think as a kid, I'm like, yeah, that's punk. That's what I want to be.
All right.
And then we also have a small appearance by Kane Hodder.
Mm-hmm.
So lots there, and that's horror movie royalty right there.
Yeah, and I think his brother, the incest family in that scene, I think his brother was Leatherface.
Okay. I didn't catch that. That's awesome.
3. Yeah, the director, I think he brought a few people from that movie over with him into this movie.
It makes sense. We work with people and can get, because I think he took over like after the first director quit and they were scrambling to try and find someone. So
okay.
Yeah. But that's about it for the Web of Schlock.
So yeah, there's a lot of good pedigree in this movie, especially for horror.
Yes.
So
if sitcoms and horror, if you like either of those, check this movie out.
This is your show. It begs the question, why was this movie so terrible? Let's get into it. But
starting with the good?
Yeah, let's start with the good. Chris, my list is very short. So
okay.
Why don't you take it away and tell us what's good about this movie?
Well, Pumpkinhead, he's a cool looking creature. So, and they kept what he looked like from the first movie. So I'll give him Pumpkinhead.
Do you think it was the same, roughly the same, like suit animatronic, or do you think they invented?
I'm guessing roughly the same. I'm sure they reused what they could, but it's hard to say. They could have. I mean, he wasn't as good as in the first movie, but he still looked cool.
I noticed his mouth wasn't as articulated.
Correct.
Because I just think of the scene in the first one where he's waving the like motorcycle chain or whatever, and he like does like this weird like smile, kind of smirky smile. I don't think we got any of that in this.
No, it was very static, but it looked cool. The cast, I really liked the cast. Were they all the greatest actors and actresses, or was it their best performance? Probably not, but I liked all of them. I liked the cast. And I really liked the opening. I liked the music in the opening. I liked the just pure red, and then it's panning back, and it's the Bloodwing symbol, and it puts this mystery, and it has a very almost Carpenter-esque kind of vibe, very synthy. And I'm like, oh man, I am in for a treat. This is like a hidden gem, and this is gonna blow me away. And it just set me up for the wrong movie. And that's my good.
Okay. I think those are pretty fair goods. I enjoyed Pumpkinhead. I love the lighting behind Pumpkinhead whenever he comes into a scene or when he is first spawned out of the grave. They just have those super harsh, bright lights behind him. Mm-hmm. And that is such a good Halloween look. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to continue on with Pumpkinhead for our Schlocktober movies, because it's just that weird, eerie backlighting that creates
and the fog,
just a great atmosphere.
Lots of fog.
Let's see. This isn't necessarily a good, but in grasping at straws for good in this movie, I will say that the teens in this movie were much more unlikable than the teens in the original one. Mm-hmm. In the original one, the teens, they like they're trying to help. They're trying to make things right in some
Except for
way.
the one, yeah.
Yeah, and in this one, they're all kind of assholes. So
yeah, except for the sheriff's daughter. That's she's
uh,
the least of them. She's not perfect by any means, but she is much better than the others.
yeah. And then the last good that I have, and I think it's what this movie was trying to be, and it was trying to be kind of this sort of sprawling generational epic, kind of like the original It miniseries, where it right the effects of the past have consequences in the future.
The sins of the father and showing giant timeline. And okay.
Yeah,
that's a fine idea.
I think it was there. I think it was an attempt. I don't think it paid off, but I can appreciate that they tried to do that, because I don't know if you see that a whole lot in movies in general.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
I mean, it's again, so it's worth I'll give him a golden star for trying.
It's worth a preponderance. Okay, right. Well, so bad. I also have a very short bad list, mostly because I don't want to spend the entire episode on bad.
Yes.
So let's blow through this.
I have a short bad list. The one I really want to point out is the teens' motivations for after they hit the witch woman, and then they go to her house to see if she's okay and apologize, and then all of a sudden they decide to dig up a body and try and resurrect it.
It really kind of goes all over, huh?
Yeah, like their idea of being bad and being dangerous is to like drive on an empty highway and shut your lights off for 10 seconds, right?
Yeah. And then they're thrill seekers.
They're thrill seekers, and then without any real proper motivation or believability, they then like let a woman almost burn to death, and they dig up a body and pour blood on it and cast a resurrection spell. Like, I'm just like, who are these kids? Like, what? How did we get from point A to point Z? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then you're just like, okay, so it's just because they needed someone to dig the body up and bring it back, because Act 2's starting. Got it.
Parents, be warned. If you have teenagers that skip school and smoke cigarettes, the next thing you know, they're going to be digging up bodies and casting black magic. See? Yeah. Necromancers. Yep. You're raising necromancers.
Well, make sure you lock up your Book of the Dead with your alcohol.
Oh, man. I thought it was so funny when she pulls out that page, I guess, and she's like, this is from the Book of the Dead. It's a spell to do blah, 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 blah. And I think when they show the page, it's a bunch of red squares and circles and triangles.
And before that, so it's red circles and triangles. And then she's like, it's a book from the dead, but I'm not very into it, so I can't read it. And then like 10 seconds later, it's a spell to bring back the dead.
Yeah, here's what it says. Yeah. But at least they did their due diligence of saying that she was into that sort of stuff.
Right. Yeah. And then the main bad guy teen, he's the one who actually reads it. So obviously he can read square, triangle. He can read PlayStation controller language. Okay, so I got one more bad. Everything. It's just a mess. If you want to tell me something's bad in this movie, I'm not going to fight you at all. You're right. It's awful. And it's also very schlocky and very fun in certain areas. Yeah. So I'm kind of done bashing on it, and I just kind of want to bask in its unabashed schlockiness. What do you got for bad?
Okay, so my biggest bad in it, well, I was going to say the acting, but I don't think it's the acting, because as we said in Web of Schlock, I mean, these people are somewhat tried and true. They are seasoned actors. They didn't just start. I mean, some of them did, I think.
Some did, but for the most part, I think it's more of a, like, you have one take and you had one rehearsal go. That's good enough.
Right. But so I think the real problem lies, as far as the acting goes, I believe the real problem lies in the dialogue. I think the dialogue is just not
Awful.
good. So they do just some really crazy things. For instance, I first noticed it when we first meet the sheriff and he's talking to his wife. They're talking about their daughter, and he says what's actually like a pretty good line. He says, "My daughter and I don't talk, we argue. Remember?" So let's dissect that for a second. He's saying this to his wife. Now, if he, of course, she knows she's his wife. She was there, right?
She remembers.
Now,
Yeah.
if he was sitting in a squad car with his new partner and they were talking about their family life, and he said, "My daughter and I, we don't talk, we debate," like perfectly fine line that gives us some information about their relationship.
Right.
And anytime that someone says "remember" at the end of a line, that's just like such a dead giveaway that this is for the audience. This isn't how real people talk. I mean, unless they're being like super catty. You don't say, "That's my brother, remember?" Yeah, we've been married 30 years.
I mean, you could get away with that more so if he were talking to like his new partner, like, "Remember? I have a daughter, remember?" Like his partner is like still getting to know him. But yeah, when it's someone that they know, it's that whole maid butler thing. Like it's so on the nose and exposition-y, and like, "I remember that he was your brother who was in that car wreck 2 years ago. Do you remember?" You're like,
yeah, how can I forget?
Yep.
Well, and I think a lot of these lines they're probably leftovers from different versions of the script because they sound like they're supposed to be in different locations. For instance, when they find the kind of a comatose, she's not comatose, the hooker after she's witnessed a killing from Pumpkinhead, which I think is that Linnea Quigley.
Maybe.
Is that Trash from Return of the Living Dead?
I'll have to look that up. I didn't get that deep. I just did all the main people. So yeah, I mean, it's the gift that keeps giving with all the actors now.
Right.
It's just...
Well, anyway, when they find her and she's like all crazy and she won't talk, they like go through like all these stages of assessment where the sheriff gets her and he says it's like she's not even here. But that it's like the first time he sees her, right? It's not like he's been talking to her or trying to get her to snap to and then says it's like she's not even here. He just gets her and then says it. And then the doctor gives her diagnosis that she thinks that she's been nearly
scared to death.
Right? That should have all taken place in like 3 different locations, right? They find her, they take her to the hospital, trying to get a response from her. It's like she's not even there. They walk into the next room. The doctor says it's almost like she's been scared to death. Like,
right? Yeah, it's all been.
It's just condensed, and it doesn't work.
Correct. Sometimes you can condense something to a level of nonsense for sure.
Let's see. I could just keep going with examples of this. I'd love to talk about the mayor in Schlock, but my last bad, just a real blatantly bad thing is I feel like they took the worst part of the first movie. There were so many great things from the first movie that they could have taken and expanded upon in the sequel, and they took the worst part, which I believe is the main bad teenager is someone with priors, and he's going to hold his friends hostage so that they can't escape Pumpkinhead.
Again, that leap of action and motivation. Like, how did he get here to do this? Like, I get that he's not a good guy, but man, well, we need him not to run away. So, well, let's have him pull a gun.
Yep,
that works.
And I
No.
I didn't think it was good in the original. I definitely don't think it's good in this one.
It was better than the original, and it wasn't good there. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So unless you have anything else, let's move into Schlock. So Schlock, big question I think is this movie so bad that it's good? Because we were talking beforehand that I certainly got a few big belly laughs.
Oh, I got some belly laughs out of it. Maybe. I'd have to see it a second time, and I'd really have to work myself up into choosing to see it for a second time.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was forced to see it a second time, I might chuckle quite a bit more. It might become a so bad it's good schlock masterpiece, because there are some just great lines. There's, with all the awful dialogue, there's some just pure schlock gems in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'd watch it again with a group of people for sure.
Yeah, some schlock party or something sometime somewhere. Yeah.
So speaking of bad lines, let's talk about the mayor real quick. Man,
I love the mayor.
Mayor Bubba? Is that his name?
Mayor Bubba. Which is just,
like that. That's not what people call him as a nickname. That's like just the character's name.
I'm Mayor Bubba.
And I do not understand. Well, I assume that when they had this actor on set, he was probably only there for one day, because we only see him twice and he's in the same location.
Yep.
The first time we see him, he comes into the doctor's office to pick up his guitar from the nurse. He's like, and it's semi-sexual. He's like, did you get it tuned up or something? And he's like, oh, thanks. And then leaves.
I mean, a doctor in a small town working by herself doesn't have enough business, because people don't get injured in small towns in horror movies. So she has to also moonlight as like a guitar tech.
She's a luthier.
A luthier. Yep.
Yeah. On the side, she does guitar lessons out of the front office. See, it's actually really deep backstory for this character.
Yep. Yeah. You know who he reminds me of? Like the vibe that I get from Mayor Bubba in this movie is the dude from Slithis. Do you remember that scene in Slithis? That scene chewing scene toward the end where we just get that guy in the office and like he is just so over the top and awful.
Is it the guy that's like talking about his family like in North Dakota? Mm-hmm. And
yep. And he just like, he's in that one scene and he's just so over the top and cheesy and he just steals the show. And that's what I got from this guy. Because the first time you see him, it's like, you got my guitar from the doctor, which we've just went over how weird that is and funny. And then the second time he's like, you heard about all these killings, Sheriff? Well, let me tell you about the Loch Ness, the abominable snowman, Bigfoot, big business. I want you to bring me Pumpkinhead dead or alive. Tourism.
Yeah, he's the mayor in Amityville or in Jaws.
Yep, he's the mayor in Jaws, man. I would love like a movie to go completely off plot and move in that direction. Like they do capture Pumpkinhead like at the right at the midpoint, and then people flock there, right? And then somehow he gets loose and starts killing tons of tourists.
Hey man, we got a few more movies to go.
Right.
So apparently, I don't know if this is true because I haven't seen the other ones.
No, I've seen Pumpkinhead and
I don't think this movie is in like the true Pumpkinhead chronology.
Yeah,
I don't think they ever addressed this.
I don't think it's canon. I think the other movies address the first movie, from what I understand. But yeah, they don't mention this. This is its kind of its own story.
Yes, I mean, but they try and make it like potentially it is like old.
Well, this is
Missy.
This Pumpkinhead is technically the son of Pumpkinhead.
The actual demon Pumpkinhead.
Yes. The Pumpkinhead in this film is the son of the demon Pumpkinhead from the first film, according to this movie. Because they were saying that it was, I don't know if it was the doctor saying it or the witch saying it. I think the witch was saying like his father was the original Pumpkinhead. I think she said that during her her witchy death scene, which we should talk about because that's amazing.
Well, tell me all about it, because I don't know if I understand how Pumpkinhead works.
I don't think they understand how Pumpkinhead works. I mean, in the first one, it was this kind of like Southern Gothic fairy tale, right? And it leaned into that in such a cool way. And in this, there's the 1950s black and white opening, which is just super silly and fun. Again, there's teenagers with no motivation. Like, in what small town do you have 5 sadistic teens who are just going to go kill this handicapped person? Like,
yeah, I didn't care for the beginning because I thought it was just way too unmotivated. If they were like looking for him because he ate their cat or something, I don't know.
I mean, at the very minimum, it could have been, that'll teach you to look at my sister. Even that's not justification for killing this kid.
But it is motivation.
Yeah, it's such a sadistic thing, and like it's so dark and just weird. Like is that how like teens in the 1950s got their kicks? Was just to go kill deformed hillbilly kids out in the woods?
I guess.
Man. So then the witch woman was like attached to his spirit or something, because she was feeling the pain and writhing on the ground when he was getting tortured and killed. But then he saves her from the fire in present day. And then when she's in the hospital, she's convulsing whenever he goes and kills someone.
So seeing through his eyes.
Right. And then she dies conveniently at this exact time when the sheriff and his maybe doctor girlfriend, because she hangs out with him everywhere, show up. And then one of my favorite scenes in this film, the door slams shut and she sits up in bed and lights and fog come in and she like gives this epic speech, just info dump, this epic schlocky info dump of like, let me answer all of your questions, Sheriff.
Well, the problem here, and maybe my problems can be answered with a simple question. Was she his mother? Was she the person, the hill folk that procreated with the original Pumpkinhead?
Maybe. I didn't get that. Like, that's what I kind of thought at first, but then a lot of it didn't make sense.
Well, so the problem is in the original, it's like the person who goes through kind of the Pumpkinhead ritual, they sort of become Pumpkinhead.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like Ed Hardy, he summons Pumpkinhead. He sees through his eyes. He is hurt when Pumpkinhead is hurt. I can't remember. Does he defeat Pumpkinhead by killing himself, or at least dying himself, and that's what kills Pumpkinhead? Is that right? And then
I'm pretty sure.
In the
yeah,
end,
it's been
he has the necklace charm and gets buried, and the implication is that he will become
the new Pumpkinhead.
The new Pumpkinhead.
Yes.
And so this woman, it seems like she definitely summons Pumpkinhead in this, and is sort of going through the same thing that Lance Hendrickson did in the first one, but she dies. Pumpkinhead keeps going. Pumpkinhead should have died, right? Unless she has a different connection to him by being his potential mother.
I don't think it's his mother though, because when the doctor's saying that the witch woman claimed his body back in the 50s, she said it was strange because there was no relation. And like she leaves food out for him like he's a stray in the woods. So she feels more like a watcher of the woods and a witch that kind of takes care of the rural backwoods area that he's part of. So I think she takes on that motherly role, but I don't think she was his mother.
Well, so the rules just aren't the same, and that's what makes it so hard.
None of it makes sense. Well, and here's another problem with her, and again, her motivation. She has the same problem that I had with the witchy woman in last week's show, Ernest Scared Stupid. They have all this stuff set up for the main characters to go in and raise the evil back up, but for no good reason. Like, she wasn't trying to summon Pumpkinhead herself. She was warning him against it. she knew that those boys killed him, and it's been like 30 some years. She could have resurrected him at any point in time to
Right.
have them go kill those 5 people. It's just she has it all set up and ready for some crazy teens who are looking for a thrill.
She just so happens to keep a vial of his blood, like just in
Right.
case.
And like, and instructions for it, and like, don't you do it. Yeah. I mean, it just like it just feels like these people have this, like they're almost like anti-harbingers. Instead of warning people off, they're like,
They're
let me
setting
just
them
set
up.
this lemonade stand up, and you just come in and pour the lemonade, and never mind that if you drink the lemonade, you'll raise the dead.
It's evil lemonade.
Right? Yeah. It feels like an anti-harbinger. Like they're just there to aid the plot in letting these stupid teens of whatever horror movie you're in start the ball rolling.
Well, and clearly, I mean, she's supposed to, if not be, she's a parallel to the witch in the first one.
Yes.
Because when they're in her cabin, it's very reddish orange. Which, remember, in the first one, being in the witch's cabin, it's like oppressively red in there, reddish orange.
It was cool,
so bright. Yeah, it was awesome, and it made like this really crazy atmosphere. They obviously tried to mirror that here, but it really didn't work. Yeah, I just had a hard time with the witch. And in fact, I'll say it that I actually thought that she was a guy because of all of the makeup on her.
Yeah, I was confused about what was even going on with her, and like that she was blind. That was also a strange little add-on.
So I looked her up because I thought she was a guy, and she is indeed not a male actor. She is actually someone we've seen before.
Really, man,
Mother Superior.
Really?
In Silent Night,
Deadly Nights. Wow.
Yeah. I was like, wow, again, you get these people that have this great pedigree, and they're just not used well. Or, I mean, she has her face covered in like these burn prosthetics that, I mean, you just really can't even see any true performance behind it.
No, you can't. It's strange. The other thing that I thought was really strange is kind of a non sequitur, but we're still in schlock. The first kill that he does, is there like a sample of some sermon going on?
Yeah, so that was one of the parts that gave me a big belly laugh, is when the weather like starts going dark and stormy, and the farmer, he's all like, Lord Jesus, give me help, or whatever, have mercy, and he goes into his barn,
right?
And so clearly he's religious, right? And so he's like, you know, doing some prayers or whatever when Pumpkinhead first comes to start tearing him apart. But then, as Pumpkinhead is tearing him apart, it switches from like the farmer saying religious things to like this radio preacher. In fact, that's what it said in the closed captions. It says radio preacher. And it's like, why is that there? Like, it didn't establish that he was like listening to the radio. It's just like this random thing thrown in.
Yeah. And then the next kill, they have kind of a upbeat kind of 1950s song going on, which again, it doesn't establish. It's just like, and then I'm like, okay, is every kill going to have some weird sound thing associated with it? And then none of the other ones do. So I'm like, okay. But yeah, the first 2 kills I really loved that about them, because I'm like, this is weird.
And while I love a good weird song, like a good upbeat song while someone is getting torn apart, I think it would have been better if they would have stuck with a more dramatic score.
I agree. The score was all over the place on this film.
Yeah. Let's see. What do you think about the safe deposit box key that the sheriff finds in the mailman's house?
I mean, again,
so random,
super convenient. It lets you move the plot forward. Yeah.
I hated that so much, just due to the fact. Okay, say you're a sheriff investigating a murder, so you go into someone's house. You're looking for evidence,
Yeah.
clues.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you find a random key. There are
Must be a
random keys
safety
in people's.
deposit box.
Yeah, like I'm sure it is. Why would that be a clue? People
Well,
have
and
safe deposit boxes. It's nothing unusual.
well, doesn't the doctor say some kind of quip right there about like a lot of good that's going to do you? We're solving a murder here or something like that. Like, and then
Like
of
trying to
course,
hang a lantern on it, but not.
yeah, yep. So
And that's where he finds the info that he needs to solve the mystery, right?
right. Well, start to solve the mystery. You're just like, what?
Well, yeah.
What?
Let's talk about I called her Doctor Sidekick. And you brought up a few times that she's his maybe girlfriend.
Yeah,
That was such a weird dynamic.
it was bizarre. Like, if he wouldn't have had a wife, if he would have been a single dad who's trying to bond with his team, but they have to move back here because of the drama, and then they start hanging out and but like she's at their home all the time. She's with him everywhere. She's like the little deputy sidekick
Yeah,
everywhere,
but
and
for
there's this
no
weird
reason.
for no reason, and it's this weird kind of like they'll hug,
Yep.
and yeah, it just
He like protects her by putting his arms around her, and it's just
yeah.
very
Yeah,
yeah.
well, it felt again like in Jaws where they like totally edit out the cheating subplot from that was in the book from the movie.
Yeah.
It's like it was written into this, and that was like the leftover part, but they cut the rest of it out. It's so weird.
So maybe there's a director's cut version of Pumpkinhead 2 that maybe we
Ooh,
can start an online petition to get it released.
man, man.
So if you're interested in that, go ahead and let us know
Right?
how that turns out.
Oh man, this movie is just so strange. And then like the blood wing, red wing symbol, like
It took
it's
too
such
long.
took too long. It's a cool image, but it's a strange clue. I mean, I like the idea of a monster coming back to get revenge on the people who killed him, and the
Mhm.
clue is like some symbol from a club that they were in 30 years ago. So it's very obscure, but it makes sense if he would have seen that symbol. But we don't
Mhm.
ever see him seeing that symbol. There was just way too much coincidence too, like the fact that
Mhm.
the sheriff saved his life when he was a kid, a couple days before he moved away.
Yeah, I was hoping
That's
he was going to be in the
convenient.
club. I was hoping he was one of the Red Wing guys, but he like left the
Yeah.
club prior to
No.
this happening or something.
Well, he
Um,
wasn't even in the club. He was
yeah,
younger.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
no,
it makes no
it was
sense.
just
Yeah.
all happenstance,
Yep. It was just
and
pure happenstance. Yeah.
yeah, um,
And then he finds the truck at the end.
yeah.
What's that,
I thought
Dad?
it fell down the bottomless pit.
It fell down the bottomless pit, but it's back. Pumpkinhead must have thrown it up as he was dying.
Yeah, he had two missions to get revenge and to go get his old toys. Um, so we talked a little bit about the farmer. I actually really liked the farmer, and I thought he was probably the best actor in it. Like, just did all of his stuff the best. Um,
You can't bring a gun in here. It's a free country, isn't it?
yeah, and kind of, like given his hunting license
Yeah.
back.
Give me my
Uh,
$10 back.
but that scene, I just have to bring it up because it cracked me up so much that so he's trying to get his money back for his hunting license and an excuse to do some info dump. Um, it's just a little thing, but the sheriff pulls out his wallet
And gives him
and
$10
gives
from his
him.
own money. Yeah.
How
Like he doesn't
small of
take
a
out a
town is
till.
this?
Right. Like, or is the sheriff pocketing the money? Like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, they're more expensive now, and I'm taking that extra little bit.
it's
The problem with that scene is that he talks about like Pumpkinhead's back, and we're all doomed, and now we're the hunted. But no one else knows about Pumpkinhead. It's just this town rumor.
Well,
But if
it
he ever
seems like
came,
Pumpkinhead has been around before, like in
correct,
between the time of Tommy
correct.
dying.
And if this is Pumpkinhead, then why didn't he kill those people whenever he was back the first time that this farmer implies he was?
Different Pumpkinhead? Are there multiple
Yeah,
Pumpkinheads?
maybe there's a Pumpkinhead part 1.5 that takes place in between these two.
Well, I definitely think we're going to have to keep going with these. We are investigators ourselves, and we got to
Yeah.
dig to the bottom of this.
The other thing, oh, go ahead.
No, please.
Well, with the Kane Hodder and his brother and sister girlfriend, and then the judge and the mailman. So the problem is that they were all still really awful people, which is kind of boring. Like, we saw them at their worst in the 1950s when they tortured this kid and killed him for no reason. Like, nothing you do is worse than that. And so it makes sense, like, that bad people stay bad, but it's not compelling. It would have been compelling if, like, these people were trying to redeem themselves and trying to be good and trying to change and be better. But still, it's like, well, but you still killed a kid in the 1950s, so Pumpkinhead's still coming after you. But you could have had some really interesting moral quandaries, just questions
Like
raised.
if the judge, instead of having like a shitty kid, had like a kid in the Special Olympics or something, and he was like really involved.
Yeah, maybe the judge was more by the book than the sheriff, and he's like, I know you when you were in the city, you had to cut corners, but we do things by the book here, sheriff.
Yeah,
like make them trying to have redeem themselves and still coming up short and then getting killed by Pumpkinhead is much more interesting and compelling and raises more questions that make something interesting, as opposed to like, yep, they were bad. Yep, they're still bad. Yep, they got killed. Which, is fine, but it's just not as interesting.
Right. I mean, there's a lot more fruit there to be harvested.
Yep. Allegedly.
Let's see. I only have a few more things. I loved that the guys doing the chicken fighting. Right. I assume that's what they were doing. The cockfighting. I don't know if you can say that on the internet, but on YouTube. But I did love that he got his face pecked off by the chickens.
Yes, that was amazing. That was one of those.
That's good irony, right? It's funny.
Let's
it's fun.
Pause there. Yeah, it's the irony. It's funny. I love when horror movies do that. When the comeuppance, when the punishment fits the crime, right? And so that he was abusing these chickens, and then the chickens peck his eyes out. It's brilliant. The problem is when you only do that once or twice, it makes all the other kills seem like meh, because they're not poignant or clever or fun or funny. They're just kind of there.
Right. No one else had any sort of like ironic death, or like you said, comeuppance. You're just torn apart. Well, no, actually, I take it back. The farmer, he goes into his barn or shed or whatever, where all of these animals are cut into pieces.
Yeah.
And this dude is cut into pieces. So
he was the only character who killed the kid in the beginning, who was trying to not be a bad person, it seemed like.
Yeah, it seemed like he was trying to maybe not necessarily be reformed, but trying to get away from it and trying to
just
do his own thing. Yeah. They're like, maybe he was pressured because those guys bullied him, right? They called him what they call him, like slick or something like that.
Yep. He was definitely the runt of the gang.
Yeah, for sure. So the only other thing I have is the daughter. She's the worst, or not the worst, the best of the bad kids, I guess.
Right.
But man, I just could not get sympathetic to her. I think a lot of it was that she like talked out the side of her mouth, like she was like really cool, like So you guys are the local badasses, huh? I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Please stop that.
Well, I mean, she would have been killed had the witch not given her dad, who had saved Pumpkinhead's life 30 some years ago, a vaguely generic little voodoo doll necklace that has no connotation to anything and nothing established about it in the movie whatsoever. This might help. Pumpkinhead, I saved you once. Here, have this. Spare my daughter.
Yeah, well, she grabs it in the fire, but and it does telegraph to us that it will be significant later, which it is, but we don't know why it's significant. In the first one, it was like some sort of simulacrum, right? Like it is the spirit of Pumpkinhead or something like that.
Yeah. Again, the mythology title tied everything together a lot more in the first movie. The ending was interesting in this because it had that wannabe Beauty and the Beast moment where like he spares someone's life and then the bad guys come in and just kill him. And of course, then he's resurrected by light and love in the Disney film. But in this, it wasn't earned. Like that is a really powerful technique to have someone choose not to kill or finish off the person who's been attacking them, to spare her life, and then to have the other bad guys rush in and kill him in that moment of vulnerability. That's one of those moments that you put in about anything, and it's going to hit some emotional buttons for the audience. And you just have to have a little bit of earning it. And it's a really powerful moment. And they did not have any of that in this. It didn't feel earned at all. It just felt weird. And I'm like, man, that's such a missed opportunity.
Yeah. The sheriff's like, no, he's just a boy.
Right. And
but he not only killed the people that did him wrong, he killed the people that essentially resurrected him so that he could get his revenge.
Right. Well, because he thinks that they hurt his witch, not mom.
His mother superior.
I'm not your mom. I'm a witch.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, it was like, I guess maybe it's sad that they're killing him, but I mean, he murdered a lot of people, so
yeah. I mean, but they all deserved it. I mean, he didn't murder the women there. He just left them catatonic and almost scared to death.
Yeah, which is fine.
Well, yeah. I mean, the wrong place, wrong time. Collateral damage. Yeah.
So
no, I don't know. This movie's a mess.
Yeah, it's a mess. I'm excited to keep going. I do think Pumpkinhead mythology, if straightened out, is interesting and cool and worth checking out.
Well, and I think the next one in line is like a decade later. I think the next ones are like mid 2000s, so it'll be interesting. So
they had some time to think about it.
Yeah, I doubt they did.
Sort it all out.
They had time to sort it all out. Did they do it? We'll find out.
All right. Well, I think that is all the time that we have for today. Chris, last thought. Who do you think should watch this movie? Who do you think it's for?
Completists and people who are looking for something really bad and really schlocky.
That's it. I think that's a big portion of our audience. Completists. If you have to watch all of the things, you got to watch this movie. I'm sorry, but you got to get through it, and you got to find something good about it, as well as the bad and the schlock. Anyway, next week it's going to be Halloween week, and so we are doing, of course, Halloween, the OG Halloween movie. After Mike Myers, The Shape. So, I am Darby Ellis Wilson. This is Chris Anonymous. We've been compelled by Schlock, and we will see you next week for a very special Halloween episode. Bye!
I am compelled by Schlock. Compelled by Schlock. Compelled by Schlock. Wait, no.